Hello Internet, this is my video I'm making for a buddy. I'm gonna try to paint a Frostgrave dude, this specific Frostgrave dude. I'm gonna try to paint him up really quick. I was describing the process to him, but I figured I'd just show you instead. So the colors I'm gonna use for this dude are Mournfang Brown, which he already has on him now. He's got a zenithal of Mournfang Brown. It's just black, Chaos Black, and Mournfang Brown. If you were to lay him down on his side, you actually see that he's all black on the underside. But there's lots of Mournfang from the top. So that's where the majority of the color of this character is going to come from. We're going to use Scrag Brown as a highlight to Mournfang Brown. We're going to use Basecoating Flesh for flesh, Celeste Gray for the fur and other components like that. And for accent colors, we're going to use red, Mephiston red, Wildwired red as a highlight to that if we need to. Caldor Sky is a blue, and then Texas blue if we decide we want to highlight that. In addition, we're going to use Null Oil, which is liquid talent, and we're going to use Agrax Earthshade, which I use probably too much of anyways, and then we're going to use this gunmetal from Vallejo, and if I'm feeling ambitious, I'll highlight that gunmetal with chrome. Let's get started. Okay. Tools of the trade here, we're going to be using a Citadel layer brush, which I cut the tip flat once it finally dawned on me. I use this as like kind of a base coat brush for small figures, and we're going to be using a Army Painter Regiment brush, if you can see that here. It's pretty easy to achieve this brush or acquire it, and I've never really used it, so we're going to put it through its paces. Alright, first and foremost, we're going to work on his face and his hands. The reason for this being, normally I like to paint from the inside out, but in this case, his face and his hands have some brighter color on them, and I'm a big old Butterfinger, so I might not want to get face color on the rest of the body. Actually, it looks like his hands are gloved, so we'll be putting a little bit of a... Oh no, he's wearing full clothes, so like I thought maybe this would be exposed, but it looks like there's a crease here that describes that he's wearing some kind of fabric underneath. So he's the only part of his face that's exposed is his head. I'm going to get my brush wet, and that's how it is right now. I'm going to dip a little bit of paint. Let's see if I can get that into the frame here. So I got a little bit of paint here on my palette. I'm just going to get a little bit of paint on the brush, like so, and I'm going to blot some of that off on my finger because it just seems to be a lot. So make sure it's running real smooth. And let's get this paint on this dude here. Now, I'm not going to bother trying to leave details unpainted because the ink wash is going to come back and handle a lot of the detail on his face for me. And the paint color I'm using right now is called Basecoating Flesh. Part of the reason why I use it is because it will cover black or dark brown in 1 or 2 coats, which I love about it. Alright, next up we're going to do the red. This time we're going to switch to my my wider brush tip because I don't need like a really refined point for this. So we're just going to bring the red in and just kind of block it out on this piece of fabric that's standing out. I think it's supposed to be a tabard or maybe something that he's using, maybe like a piece of drapery or something that he found to cover himself up because it's super cold. In Frostgrave, so okay, I got some of the browns down onto my palette. This is what he looks like right now. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to use some Mornfang Brown and switching back to the Regiment brush from Army Painter, this guy. And I think what I want to do here is try to get some of that Mornfang Brown put out into lines that can be followed by the highlight color. So at this point I'm just kind of like just painting straight lines. And the reason why I'm doing that is because these lines are going to stand out to the eye at a distance, I guess. Better than just painting the whole thing straight color. Okay, we have some Scrag Brown on the brush now, and I'm just going to go and hit the edges and then the highlights. So from the top down is where I'm trying to get the most of my color. And so anything that's going to be at the top of the guy's arm, well, that's where I start. And the brush itself will make the line thinner as it goes down. See if I can keep that in frame. And again, just paint right through the fingers. It's cool. Ink wash will fix it. So you might be asking yourself, why is Shu using Celestial Gray on this poor guy's boots? And the answer is, well, the detail here, there's a lot of it. It's very small. It would take me a long time to catch all of it with the detail brush. So I'm just going to paint in a dirty gray, and then let the Agrax surface shade do the rest. Okay, I figured it out. I'm going to use this color called Xandri Dust, which is a like a tan. I use it to base lots of the bone accents in my terrain, because I like that kind of. I think that bones would be, a little bit more tan than it would be white if left out for too long. They get dirty or whatnot, and this guy's certainly a dirty mercenary vagabond that you would find in a wizard's tavern. The wizard says, "Alright, you schmucks, who's gonna carry this longsword up into that crazy-ass castle and help me help me sort out some bad guys the hard way?" And this guy would be like, "I'll do it. Yeah, that's right, I'll do it." Alright, now that guy his base colors are almost done. He's got this little pack work down on his belt here. I'd like to do something special with that. So we're going to use that Celestial Gray again. I think that's what we'll do. No. Dump that idea. Let's use that Scrag Brown. Scrag Brown. And we'll just, again, right off my palette. Just kind of jam it in there. Work that color all around. It's a scrag brown. It's pretty thin down, so it's just sitting in the recess right now because I'm a ding dong. And the paint itself is really thin, so I'll dry off my brush a bit, a little bit more pigment, and work that in there a little bit better. Gonna slap it onto his sword, onto his belt, his little dagger or whatever that is. And it looks pretty terrible. So at this point you're thinking, huh, good job, Shu, you showed me nothing. This is ugly as sin. And you're right, it is ugly as sin. What should we do for his handle? Let's pick a different color. Let's go to Standard Mechanicus Gray. Just really fun gray that's pretty much the same color as the plastic that Citadel models come in. And I'm just getting a little bit out, stick it on my palette. Don't need a lot. But we're going to use this gray color for the handle of a sword. And we'll just try not to get it on his face or his sleeves. And then do the bottom there. I'm just now realizing this guy's got a Titanic mold line down his sword, and that's just going to be the way he is because I'm not going to scrape that. He's Frostgrave Droog, who's supposed to die really quickly. And we're going to put it here on the scabbard as well. We'll come back into the pommel with some metallic paint in a few minutes once the rest of his belt has dried. And I'll come back when he's dry and we can do some metallics. Alright, let's do some metallics. I figured this guy wouldn't be too wealthy, but this sword does look a little bit more ornate than your average sword. So I made this a piece of loot or something that he picked up along the way, and he's feeling really good about it. So we're going to give him a nice gold, what is this, pommel? Hilt-in pommel? One of the two. Maybe a combination of both. Nice gold hilt and pommel here. I think that's the hilt. Down here at the bottom is the pommel. That's going to do it. We'll make that part gold. Give him something to feel good about himself with, because the rest of his paint job is like, oh, I'm not feeling too good about this paint job. I understand, buddy. I understand. But you're going to be painted, and that's better than not painted. Just try not to get the gold on your head. This big fat brush is flaying out all different directions. Alright, so I did get, looks like I did get that gold in there. Pretty good. Maybe a little bit here. Got some on his shoulders. That's okay. We'll fix that when we go do highlighting later on. Dumping the paint off my brush. Switching to silver. And this is my secret when I do silver. I just do a thick coat of silver. This is actually not silver. This is a bolt gun, I think is what it's called. Oh, gunmetal. It's called gunmetal. And it's gonna go down the sword one solid stripe. Whoop. We'll do that again on this side. Pushing the paint around. There's a lot of paint on this model right now. Whoop. What's up, hands? Whoop. There we go. So that's his sword. Let's do the lantern next. Whole lantern, gunmetal. We could depict the lantern being on, in which I might put a little yellow in there. Maybe. Maybe. But again, effort. That takes effort. And this brush is so flayed out right now, like it's almost a dry brush. I'm not dry brushing it. There's actually enough paint in here to come off onto the model, but it is very close to a dry brush because this thing is like just Alright, now this is a little bit of a bummer because you have to wait for this crap to dry. Oh, I know what I'll do. While that's drying, I'll throw a little bit of silver and gold onto his belt piece here. Oop. Okay, so we'll throw gold onto the hilt of what I think is his dagger here, and onto the bottom of the scabbard. And then I'll use a light gray for the handle of the thing. That way it looks like there's some kind of diversity of color going on with his. Oops. Got a little bit of color on the bottom of his sleeve there. Just gonna use a wet brush. Push that off. Nope, it's already dried on. That's awesome. So I'll show you how to fix a mess up. Gonna take a little bit of black paint. Throw it down on my palette. And I'm going to work kind of fast here. Now, I don't want to grab the sword because there's wet paint there. It'll leave a big old fingerprint in my sword. So right now what I've done is I've got some white paint here. Not white, but gray. I'm going to throw down a little bit of that black paint. Just like so. That creates a pretty harsh line. While it's wet, I'm just going to go straight to scrag brown. Get some of that scrag brown and throw that in to the mix. Here. And while we're at it, let's clean up the line that we made on the backpack here. We'll clean up this edge over here as well. This part that got gold on it from his sleeve. Great. Now, all that's left is to let this paint dry a little bit and then ink wash this sucker. Okay, this guy is dry. So we're gonna get my shade brush wet, just in comparison. This is my shade brush looks like. This is the regiment brush. This is the shade brush. This big old fat watercolor guy, size 3 something from 1982, I think. I don't know where the hell I got it. It's a hunk of crap. That's okay. It's my shade brush, and it's huge. That's why I like it. One of the many reasons why I like it. And I've got this old pot of Aggressor shade that I keep using. Why? Because, well, you know, it's getting down to the bottom. So when the Aggressor shade's down to the bottom, that's the good stuff is. You gotta shake this, and I just jam this thing in there until it's dripping, dropping, and I kind of just let the drop fall to the side there. So I'm going to slather this guy in this stuff. Paint it on from the top, go down to the bottom. Start at the top, go down to the bottom. And that's how the cookie crumbles for this guy. I'm putting a hell of a lot of ink on here. Why? Because he's painted awfully, frankly, and this ink is going to be liquid talent for me. You see how I'm moving the ink around? I put a lot of ink onto the model, and then I just use the brush to move it around and make sure that it's not too embarrassing and obvious what I did. Still working on it. Still working on it. Hey, guess what? Still working on it. And letting it kind of pull up a little badly here underneath his little frame of clothing, his little packs or whatever, the little layers of clothing. I think that's okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm bringing the brush up like this, and what that's doing is it's scooping the ink off into the crevices, the bottom part of his robes here, and I think that's okay. I think that's okay. For his face, I'm gonna make sure that his face is nice and inky, and for his lantern as well, I want to make sure that there's no area that we're leaving uninked. And again, I'm kind of moving the brush upward now to get the ink onto the underside of the crevices. Alright, that guy is pretty darn inky. And we're going to let him dry. See you in a few seconds, thanks to internet movie magic. Through the miracle of modern science, I have returned. This guy is now dry. This is what he looks like. The light on him is pretty harsh right now, so I think the natural case is for him to look a little funky on camera. So now I'm just going to, as I described the technique before, I'm going to go through and paint highlights on him using the just base colors only. So up here, scrag brown, and I'm just doing lines. Pretty simple. I'm not going to touch his pouches Do lines. Moving on, moving around the back of the model. More lines.